In his first two games for Tottenham Hotspur, Mathys Tel was knocked out of the Carabao Cup and knocked out of the FA Cup. Hardly the best start to his Spurs career. But in today's video, I'm going to explain why Mathys Tel is the perfect signing for Spurs, from being able to play multiple positions across the front three to helping phase out an aging Heung-min Son. Let me tell you a little bit more about Mathys Tel. Let me start off by talking about my main concern for Tel. Now obviously this video is talking about why I think he's the perfect player for Spurs, and I do believe that, but I do have one concern, and that's the fact he's only ever started 9 Bundesliga matches for Bayern Munich. That comes down to obviously his age and his lack of experience, and also the fact that Bayern Munich have lots of world-class talent, so it's understandable, but it's still a little bit worrying if you're Spurs, because you're bringing him in to be a 90-minute man every week until the end of the season, and he hasn't proven that he is a 90-minute man yet. That's just a minor concern though, really, because overall he does look like a very promising player. It is just a minor concern because that can be dealt with by the end of the season, playing regularly and building up his 90 minutes. But moving on to what I think Spurs actually needed from a signing, if you look at their left wing options right now, well, overall, they've got Mikey Moore, Heung-min Son and Timo Werner. Starting off with Mikey Moore, it's crazy to believe he's only 17 because he already looks so good and so comfortable in the league, and he looks like a real talent. But obviously Spurs don't want to be relying on him regularly because you don't want to overuse him and potentially risk injuries later down the line. And also he's not very experienced. He still has a long way to go before he's, a regular Premier League starter, #1 choice. The same goes for Timo Werner in the fact that you don't want to be starting him regularly for a different reason. The fact is, he's just not good enough for the Premier League. Maybe that's a bit harsh in saying it. Not going to be a player that you can rely on to carry you up the league. There's very few clubs in the league that I think he would make better, and even those clubs, the clubs right near the bottom of the table, I don't even know if he'd definitely be starting for them. It's a weird loan signing for Spurs, but thankfully for Spurs it is only a loan, so he will be going back to Leipzig at the end of the season. I think that's a good move for Spurs because they should not be, I don't even know why they signed him in the first place. Heung-min Son then, the first choice. He's 32, he's aging, and the last 2 seasons he's clearly had a slowly downward spiral. He's not really at the same level he was back then, and that's understandable. Players usually decline slowly when they get older, and obviously that, partnered with the fact that Harry Kane left the club and he lost his, main duo, which they linked up so amazingly for so many years. But I do think Spurs will need to look to start slowly phasing him out and bringing in Mathys Tel. Obviously right now it's only on a loan, but they do have the option to sign him on permanent in the summer. If they do that, then I do think he will be the perfect player to slowly phase out Heung-min Son. I do think Son is still a great player for Spurs. I think he will still do good in the next season and a half to be able to, be a good squad player and still start the odd Premier League match, but just not be the first choice player. I think that time has kind of come into an end where he's the first choice left winger for Spurs. Looking a bit more in depth at what Mathys Tel will bring to Tottenham. Now, for a start, he's obviously got a great right foot. He's known for cutting in, shooting and scoring some really good goals for Bayern Munich, but he's also comfortable on his left foot. He has scored quite a few goals with his left foot as well, and he's also fairly comfortable in the air as well. All those things, they tick a lot of boxes. He's also loves taking on his man in a 1v1. He does struggle physically when it comes down to a physical tussle, and when he's come up against a much more physical centre-back or full-back, he does struggle a lot, which is something that obviously he needs to work on. But overall, he's clocked the 22nd fastest speed in the Bundesliga last season. He's a quick player, he's a good player. I think he will bring a lot to Tottenham Hotspur. I don't expect Tel to instantly be amazing. He's a raw talent, but he will bring a lot to Tottenham. And if they do choose to make that option permanent in the summer, which I think they will and should do, then I think over the next couple of seasons, Spurs fans will really see him improve and grow strength by strength, as long as, of course, he stays fit, which at Spurs right now is a very hard thing to do, it seems. But overall, I think it's going to be a really good sign. And let's take a quick look at how I think Spurs will line up next season should they keep him. So this is their attack as it stands with all the players in their current squad, injured and not injured. Kulusevski is the 10, he's been exceptional this season. He's really carried Spurs through the season. Without him in the club, they would have struggled so much more than they're already doing. Obviously Solanke through the middle, another great signing. Haven't yet seen the best of him at Spurs. Last season I think he scored, 17 goals for Bournemouth in the Premier League, an excellent season. Haven't really seen that level of player at Spurs yet because he has struggled a lot with injuries, but every game he plays, his link-up play is excellent and he does do a lot. He works very hard for the team. Then we've got Mathys Tel off the left wing, and we've got one of Johnson or Odobert off the right wing. Right now, I think it's probably going to be Johnson higher up in the pecking order. He does add a lot more goals than Odobert does, but I do think longer term Wilson Odobert will be the first choice in that right wing spot. I think that's a very promising attack. I think it's definitely comfortable enough to be the top 7 attack in the league. I think they still have a little bit of a way to go before they're back in the Champions League, but I do think Tel is an amazing signing, and he is one step closer to Spurs being back in that Champions League debate. And obviously, injuries are one major reason why Spurs have struggled this season. I don't think injuries should always be used as an excuse, because I think if you look at Bournemouth and what they've done, they've only gotten better since their injury crisis. But at the same time, Spurs have had a lot of serious injuries, and obviously, you know, you could say they could have prepared better by bringing in, you know, more players to their squad. They are meant to be the top 6 side, but overall injuries have really ruined their season, just like they did to Brentford last season. So I think that has to be taken into account. But next season, Spurs should definitely be back in amongst the top 7, and if they keep Tel, he'll be an excellent player. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Till next time, Hive out.